morning po, my name is Norhaifah and in this video we will be discussing about my Intercensal analysis on Hong Kong's economy and its women.
Hong Kong is one of the richest countries in the world and has increasing GDP and GNI per capita each decade. Hong Kong's economy is extremely service-oriented, and due to low taxation, it is a heaven for businesses and investors. But there are also trends that could be seen moving alongside the country's economic development. And many of these trends involve the women of this highly developed country. But first off, let's talk about the movement of the GNI and GDP of Hong Kong, which is quite obvious based on the world population data sheets provided by BRP, especially focusing on the GNI of the country according to WPDS in 2001, 2011, and 2021. Hong Kong's GNI trend per capita goes from $22,570 in 2001 that went up to $44,540 in 2011 and grew up to $62,510 in 2021. And now let's talk about the trends that moved alongside this massive economic trend of Hong Kong. And it is also important to note that most of these trends involve the women of this highly developed country. Number 1, the fertility rate. Based on PRP's WPDS, it is quite obvious that the trend of fertility rate in Hong Kong has been going downwards. From a fertility rate of 1.3 in 1990s and 1.0 in 2001, it went as low as 0.9 in 2020. To me, this trend made quite a lot of sense. With how fast the country is developing, Hong Kong's women must have been very competitive and busy as they struggle with society. I believe that their schedules are way too hectic for having children. Next is the trend of pregnancy ages in Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, most women have children at ages 20 to 34. And in 2020, 37% of the population have children at ages higher than 35. In contrast, from 2% in 1990s, women involved in early pregnancy went to astonishing 0% in 2020. I guess Hong Kong women prefer being more stable than having their own children at a young age. Finally, life expectancy. This trend is actually very important to note. It is inevitable for the lives of the citizens of highly developed countries to become better as their countries become more competent economically and more developed. Furthermore, the life expectancy rates of citizens could also be used as basis for examining how prosperous a country is. In Hong Kong, life expectancy in 2001 was 82 years for females. In 2011, along with the growth of the economy of Hong Kong based on the growth of the GNI per capita of the country, the female life expectancy went up to 86 years of age. And in 2021, it significantly became higher alongside with the massive growth of the country's GNI when female life expectancy went up to 88 years of age. But the rapid development of Hong Kong's economy came with a very disastrous consequence. Behind Hong Kong's glamorous and tall buildings and skyscrapers is a completely different and tragic reality. According to Emma Russell, Hong Kong's careless management of garbage has borne a very terrible consequence. It bore an environmental crisis where Hong Kong's environment degraded under the pollution of garbage and other waste materials. Hong Kong's millions of tons of waste every year have piled up over the years and decades of careless garbage management. And now the world is spectating how Hong Kong will manage this crisis in the future for the country and its environment's well-being. In conclusion, Hong Kong's economic development and advancement help its citizens have a better life. It can be observed based on the increased GNI of the country and the life expectancy of its citizens. As a consequence of this development and advancement in women, pregnancy rates and fertility rate went lower over the course of decades. On another scale, Hong Kong's development caused for pollution and environmental degradation to worsen in the country.
A pleasant day, everyone, especially to you, Ma'am Mary Ann. So today I will be reporting about my chosen country and its intercensal analysis. So this intercensal analysis is very significant in order to determine whether there is an improvement or development in a certain country. It seeks to compare the desired and actual outcomes and pinpoint opportunities for improvement. So basically, I will be presenting to you a 10-year gap analysis of Canada through the help of the following variables, which I will be discussed later on. But before that, let's have first a background information about my chosen country. So this is the geographical map of the Canada with a landmass of 9.1 million square kilometers. Canada is the second largest country in the world next to Russia in terms of area and occupies 2/5 of the North American continent. It is bordered by 3 oceans, the Pacific, Atlantic, and Arctic Ocean. So with regards to its government, the British monarch is the head of state of Canada. The monarch is represented by a governor-general who has very limited powers. Laws are made by Canada's elected federal government, and that includes a parliament and a prime minister. So today, Canada has been leading worldwide in agricultural production, telecommunications, and energy technologies, where vast majority of Canada's exports go to the United States. So these are the following variables with its underlying definitions. So I guess you're already familiar with these terms and also its meaning. So now let's proceed to our main objective, which is the intercensal analysis of Canada. For our first variable, which is the population size. So presented on this figure is a graph on the 10-year gap population of Canada from year 2001 until year 2021. So based on the given data, year 2001 has 30,880,073 people recorded, while year 2011 has 34,539,159, and on the year 2021 there are 38,067,983. So it shows that in between year 2001 and 2011 there is an 11.85 increase, while between year 2011 to year 2021 there is a 10.22 increase in population. So according to Hill, Canada's population represents an annual growth rate of 1.4%, which is the highest among G7 countries or world's advanced economic countries. So our next variable is the life expectancy of Canada from year 2001 to year 2021. So based on the given graph, year 2001 has 79.25, while year 2011 has 81.38, and year 2021 has 82.66. And it shows that between this year 2001 to year 2011, there is a 2.69 increase in life expectancy, while between year 2011 to year 2021, there is only a 1.57 increase in life expectancy from this gap. So according to Canada Protection Plan, there are two important indicators for life expectancy: how long the average Canadian is expected to live and how long an individual is expected to live. It is important to keep in mind that it will be used as an indicator of the health outcomes of the country. As a result, groups and individuals can use this data to make positive decisions that affect their life expectancy. Our third variable is the total fertility rate of Canada from year 2001 to year 2021. So it shows that on year 2001, there is 1.53% births per woman, year 2011 has 1.61%, while year 2021 has 1.5% fertility rate. And based on the graph, it shows that between year 2001 to 2011, there is a 5.28 increase in fertility, while in year 2011 to year 2021, there is a decline, with 7.1% fertility rate. So, according to Statistics Canada, the rate of fertility has fallen so low in Canada that the replacement of the present generation is no longer assured. Canadians now have fewer children later in their lives, and more may choose to forgo parenthood altogether. This low fertility rate is often used as an economic justification for increasing immigration levels. Next is the death rate of Canada from year 2001 to year 2021. And based on the graph, it shows that there is a constant rate from the year 2001 to 2011 with 7.2% death rate, while in year 2021, there is a 7.85%. So between year 2011 to 2021, there is an increase of 8.25% death rate. According to the statistical report by Alf Lane, two of the most common causes of death in Canada and among other developed countries is cardiovascular disease and cancer. However, the number of deaths and causes vary by province and territory, age group, and gender. One major health issue of the concern that Canada shares with its neighbor to the south is the ongoing opioid crisis. Some provinces have been hit harder than the others, with death rate from opioid overdose in British Columbia nearly double the national average. Next is the net migration rate from year 2001 to year 2021. So it shows that on year 2001, it has 6.12% net migration rate. Year 2011 has 7.45% migration rate, while in year 2021, it has 6.28% migration rate. And between year 2001 to year 2011, it has an increase of 21.63%, while between year 2011 to 2021, it declines to 15.6%. So, when the numbers of immigrants is larger than the number of immigrants, a positive net migration rate occurs. However, there are factors that leads to the decline in migration rate in Canada. A recent online survey shows that 30% of young immigrants are likely to leave the country, and the top reasons that have been cited for leaving Canada is due to the cost of living, belied professional and status expectations. Next is the poverty rate from the year 1997 to 2017. So based on the graph, 1997 has 1% poverty rate, while 2017 has 0.5%, and on 2017 it has 0.7%. So it shows that between year 1997 to 2007, there is a decline of 50%, while between 2007 to year 2017, there is an increase of poverty rate with 40%. So there are factors why the poverty rate started to increase on the year 2007 until 2017. One of the factors is the increased poverty is due to the inequality of incomes. For instance, the fall in income was driven by the stagnant earnings, but this did not affect the highest earners. Next variable is the crime rate from year 1998 to 2018. So it shows that on year 1998, it has 1.86% crime rate, which is slightly higher compared to the year 2008 with 1.84%, while in year 2018, there is a 1.76% crime rate. And between this year 1998 to 2008, there is a decline on the crime rate in Canada with 1.07%, while on year 2008 to 2018, it even declines to 4.35%. So according to Statista.com, the decline rate of these crimes, apart from the influences of the general decline in crime, stem from the advances of the anti-theft technology. Now for our last variable, which is the military size of Canada from year 1998 to 2018. So based on the data, it shows that on year 1998, it has 69,950 personnel who joined the military, while year 2008, it has 64,000 personnel, while in year 2018, it has a 72,400 personnel. So between year 1998 to 2008, it declines to 8.5% who joined the military, while between year 2008 to 2018, it increases to 13.12%. So, the data presented indicates the significant role of the military in the country of Canada, especially on the time of crisis. So these armed forces in Canada has various functions such as search and rescue, patrolling airspace and territorial waters, supporting anti-drug operations, and helping the aftermath of natural disasters. Implications to the environment. Since the start of industrialization, world's population continues to grow rapidly, so as the dramatic impacts on the Earth's climate and ecosystems. So because of these anthropogenic activities, it greatly affects the Earth system in a variety of ways, such as the depletion of natural resources and increased burning of fossil fuels for energy to generate electricity. And as the populations increase in Canada, more lands are being used for agricultural purposes and in turn can lead to a decrease in species populations, geographic ranges, biodiversity, and alter interactions among organisms. The greater also the life expectancy in Canada, and the more Canadian women give birth to children every year, or what we call the fertility rate, the more people will also utilize and abuse the natural resources. In relation to military size, the more Canadian who will join the armed forces, the greater also the effect it can do to the environment. So for instance, aside from the human casualty, war can also lead to land pollution and deforestation, destruction of natural resources, and damage to infrastructures. If this continue to persist, there will be an increase in poverty rate, crime rate, as well as death rate. It also affects the rate of migration in Canada, as people tend to seek for a place where there is no scarcity of resources and has a better social and economic opportunities. So to conclude, this paper was able to provide a comprehensive intercensal analysis about Canada using the following variables being presented. So based on the data sets that are being discussed, it showed how Canada have changed through the years through the 10-year gap analysis. Through this also, we can determine the status of a certain country just like Canada, and we can compare the desired and actual outcomes in order to pinpoint possible opportunities for improvement. With regards to its implication to the environment, through this intercensal analysis, we can create a possible intervention in order to mitigate the continuous depletion of the natural resources and the degradation of the ecosystem in Canada, which are caused by these various anthropogenic activities. So I guess that's all. Thank you everyone for listening.
Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. I am Abdulmalik Jamael and this is my report on the Intercensal analysis of United Arab Emirates or UAE. Specifically, I will be presenting different variables using the given data sheets and try to find out the status of UAE 20 years before, 10 years before, and after. But before that, let me present to you some background information about UAE. The United Arab Emirates is situated in the southeast of the Arabian Peninsula, bordering Oman and Saudi Arabia. Its capital city is Abu Dhabi, located in the largest and wealthiest of the 7 Emirates. Their national landscape is mainly composed of gravel plains and dune deserts. Major cities and urban centers are mainly on the coast. The area of this country is 83,600 km squared. Compared to this, it is about the same as Austria or slightly smaller than Maine in the United States. The population of the United Arab Emirates is about 9.9 million, including foreigners. The population of the country's men is as much as the female population. The federal government of the United Arab Emirates allows individual emirates to decide the mechanisms through which ownership of land may be transferred. Enforcement of property rights is predictable and fair. The judiciary is not independent, but the rule of law is generally well maintained. The UAE is also among the least corrupt countries in the region. Nevertheless, nepotism and corruption persist, and the government generally lacks transparency. Now, let us move to our first variable, which is population growth rate of UAE from year 2001 up to year 2021. Data on the graph shows that in between year 2001 and 2011, the population growth rate is 170.89%, which is very higher than between year 2011 and 2021 with only 11.67% growth rate. There are many factors contributing to the rise in population of the country, one of them being influx of immigrants. The number of foreigners settling in the UAE has grown due to the plentiful job opportunities the country offers. Next is fertility rate. Data shows that year 2001, 2011, and 2021 has a fertility rate of 2.63%, 1.8%, and 1.38% respectively. This indicates that between 2001 and 2011, the fertility rate declines to 31.32% and even declines in the year 2011 to 2021 with 23.54% decline in fertility rate. Late marriage, putting off having children, and high cost of raising children are among the several reasons for a dip in fertility rates among Emiratis in Dubai. Other report attributes the declining birth rates to urbanization, changing attitudes about family size, and increased education and work opportunities for women. Next is mortality rate. Data shows that year 2001, 2011, and 2021 has a mortality rate of 1.85%, 1.42%, and 1.65% respectively. This means that between 2001 and 2011, it declines to 23.39%, while in between year 2011 to 2021, it increases to 16.5%. According to Statista, the highest deaths in the UAE on the year 2017 was caused by cardiovascular diseases at around 7.35 million deaths, up from around 1.02 million deaths in 1990. Next variable is migration rate. Data shows that year 2001, 2011, and 2021 has a migration rate of 51.34%, 47.38%, and 1.93% respectively. This shows that between year 2001 to 2011, it declines to 7.7%, while in between year 2011 to 2021, it even declines to 95.9%. According to Abbott and Stavakis, there are two main reasons for migration in Middle East. One is search for economic opportunities, and the other one is existence of regional conflicts. For the life expectancy, data shows that year 2001, 2011, and 2021 has a life expectancy of 74.42%, 76.42%, and 78.18% respectively. This shows that between year 2001 and 2011, it increases up to 2.69% and even increases between year 2011 to 2021 with 2.3% increase rate in life expectancy. According to report by O'Neill, in 2019, life expectancy at birth for women in the United Arab Emirates was about 79.31 years, while life expectancy at birth for men was about 77.29 years on average. The next variable is unemployment rate. Data shows that year 2000, 2010, and 2020 has an unemployment rate of 2.25%, 2.36%, and 5% respectively. This shows that between year 2000 to 2010, there is a 4.89% increase in an unemployment rate, while between year 2010 to 2020, it even rises up to 111.86%. Based on the data presented, the unemployment rate depicts the share of a country's labor force without jobs but available and actively seeking employment. The United Arab Emirates unemployment rate is quite low, and the region has one of lowest amount of unemployed person worldwide. For the next variable, which is carbon dioxide emission, data shows that year 1998, 2008, and 2018 has carbon dioxide emission of 83,850 kilotons, 156,200 kilotons, and 200,300 kilotons, respectively. This shows that between year 1998 and 2008, there is an 86.29% increase in carbon dioxide emissions, while 28.23% increase on the year 2008 to 2018. According to TCO, fossil fuel combustion and industrial purposes in the United Arab Emirates produced 203 million metric tons of carbon dioxide emission in 2020, although this was the third consecutive year that emissions in the UAE declined. they have increased considerably since the 1970s. The UAE currently produces some of the most carbon dioxide emission per capita worldwide at more than 15 metric tons per person. For the last variable, which is military size, the data shows that year 1998, 2008, and 2018 has a military size of 65,500, 51,000, and 63,000 respectively. This shows that between year 1998 and 2008, the military size declines to 22.14%, but it rises up between year 2008 to 2018 with 23.53% increase in military personnel. Al-Nakbi stated that UAE is one of the world's best and well-equipped countries that has great military standards and is on a continuous streak of improving and upgrading its military equipment, technology in the military, and improving its warfare tactics, and many more. Application to the environment. Based on the existing data sheets mentioned, it showed how this variable increases through time such as population, fertility rate, mortality rate, migration rate, life expectancy, unemployment rate, carbon dioxide emission, and military size. This observable increase in UAE are mainly due to the anthropogenic activities, which may in turn leads to harmful effect towards the environment, especially now that we are in the period wherein humans are the new global geophysical force. Let us take for example the increase in population. Overpopulation is associated with negative environmental and economical outcome, which include impacts of overfarming, deforestation, and water pollution through eutrophication and global warming. An increase in life expectancy may sound good news to individuals, but for the planet's point of view, it will just continue to consume resources and produce waste. Overconsumption also results to the degradation of nearly 1 billion hectares of land globally, either due to agriculture or industrial activities. As a result, there is also a decline in many ecosystem services worldwide and is now threatening livelihoods, result in socio-economic instability. Further, negative effects include shortage of food, limited access to healthcare and other public services, overcrowding, and high unemployment. Also, the usage of fossil fuels, in which UAE is known for, can also cause negative impact. When these fossil fuels are burned, they release large amount of carbon dioxide into the air, called greenhouse gases, and trap the heat in the atmosphere, causing global warming. In conclusion, an intercensal analysis is very vital in order to determine the status or current situation of a certain country. Through those variables that I have presented, we were able to have an idea of the current status of the UAE and the things that need to be addressed. Through this analysis also, we were able to know that both population size and overconsumption are one of the many risk factors that influence environmental change. UAE can then be able to come up with a solution with regard to the continuous increase in the rate of these variables, which yield a negative impact on the environment. UAE may be able to implement policies that could address these problems, such as policies on effective family planning, more effective rural development to slow the migration in the crowded urban centers, and incentives to encourage sustainable levels of consumption, as well as the use of efficient, cleaner technologies. And here is the references that I used to come up with this report. And I think that's all. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Washima and this is my study about intercensal analysis in Brazil. So this presentation contains in the introduction, the country, the intercensal analysis, the implication, and the conclusion. So for the introduction, so the Brazil intercensal analysis was an analysis of a gap of 2 decades that spanned from the years 2001 to 2011 and from 2011 to 2021 respectively. So the information was gathered from the secondary data that was made accessible on the world's population datasheets. So intercensal estimates give a consistent time series of population statistics that reflect the most recent censuses count. So in between censuses, these estimates are used to assess historical patterns in birth and death rates,
to forecast future populations, to compute the number of births, deaths, and life expectancy rate, and to monitor changes in other demographic variables. So, for the methodology used, it was consisted of comparing the changes that occurred in each variable throughout the course of the two 10-year gaps. The variables that have been provided are all of those that are currently available for the years 2001, 2011, and 2021 respectively. So there are 4 facts about Brazil. First is Brazil is the largest country in South America. So Brazil is the world's 5th largest country and has the 6th most people living there of any country in the world. So over 211 million people live in Brazil. The second one is Brazil has 4 time zones. So the reason Brazil has 4 time zones is because it is so big that there is a big difference in when the sun sets across the country. The third one is around 60% of the Amazon rainforest is in Brazil. So most of the Amazon rainforest is in Brazil. The rainforest is full of animals and sometimes called the lungs of the earth because all the trees pump out oxygen which help combat climate change. And lastly, is Brazil is home to the second longest river in the world. So the Amazon River flows through Brazil and is the longest river in the world. The Nile is the longest. So it is home to lots of animals, including the Amazon River dolphin, electric eel, and the green anaconda snake. So for our intercensal analysis, this table provided the summary of the data of Brazil for the two 10-year gaps analysis. So we have here the variables, which are the area, the population, births, death, infant mortality rate, total fertility rate, the life expectancy at birth for male and female, and for both sexes, and the GNI PPP per capita. So for our population, this statistic shows the population growth in Brazil from 2001 to 2011 and 2021. So in 2011, Brazil's population increased by approximately 13.39% compared to the previous year, while it increased again by 8% on the year 2021. So Brazil ranks 5th among the largest countries in the world in terms of area size. So next one is the birth and death. So as you can see here in the graph, the birth rate or fertility rate of Brazil has undergone a demographic shift. It declines by 30% from 2001 to 2021. So the demographers say that the fertility rate is declining because the country is richer and more urban, but they also point to Brazil's hugely popular soap operas and their portrayal of small glamorous families. While for the death rate of Brazil fluctuated throughout the years. In 2001, there were about 7 deaths per 1,000 inhabitants in Brazil. It decreases by 6 on 2011 and rises by 16% on 2021. The next one is the infant mortality rate. So the infant mortality rate of Brazil was 35 deaths per 1,000 births in the year 2001. This number has continuously decreased until 2011. And in 2021, the child mortality rate in Brazil is 12 deaths per 1,000 births. It is said that prenatal education, medical improvements, and greater access to medical care are the driving forces behind these changes. So second to the last, next is the population age by 15% and 64%. Next is the life expectancy at birth. So based on a study, the life expectancy in Brazil has increased steadily during the 20th century, rising from 33.7 years in 1900 to 73.5 years in 2010. However, this considerable improvement has been uneven between men and women. So, as in several other countries, in Brazil, women live longer than men, and this gender gap in the life expectancy has widened over time. However, just because women live longer than males does not mean that they are necessarily healthier. Women had a higher prevalence of functional limitations and poor health, and this is according to the studies utilizing self-report health status measures, implying that the extra years aren't always spent in good health. And lastly is the GNI. So the GNI per capita is the gross national income converted to US dollars using the World Bank Atlas method divided by the mid-year population. So the GNI per capita based on PPP for Brazil was increased from 6,840 international dollars in 2001 to 10,160 international dollars in 2020, and in 2021 it rises, in 2011, and in 2021 it rises again by 14,550 international dollar GNI per capita based on PPP. So next one is the implication of the variables to the environment. So for the population, there are two primary impacts of so many humans on the environment. First is the consumption of natural resources, including land, the food, water, air, fossil fuels, and minerals. Next one is the waste products resulting from consumption, including air and water pollution, hazardous substances, and greenhouse gases. Next one is the birth rate. So rapid population growth fueled by high fertility is hindering poverty reduction and achievement of other internationally agreed development targets. It also endangers the health of infants and their mothers, reduces human capital investments, hinders economic growth, and worsens environmental challenges, while the lower birth rates are related with lower growth, a faster aging population, and as a result, slower economic expansion. For the infant mortality rate, the infant mortality rate is an essential indicator of a society's overall health. So, in general, high infant mortality rates are indicative of unmet human health requirements in sanitation, healthcare, nutrition, and education. And the infant mortality rates might also show a country's lack of social justice. Next is the fertility rate. So tracking fertility rates enables for more efficient and beneficial resource allocation and planning within a given region. So if a country's persistent fertility rate is extremely high, it may need to create more schools or extend access to cheap childcare. Next is the life expectancy at birth. So increases in life expectancy at birth can be related to a number of causes, including improving living standards, improved lifestyle education, and greater access to high-quality health service. So lastly is the GNI PPP. So as income increases, performance also increases. The environmental impact of economic growth includes the increased consumption of non-renewable resources, higher levels of pollution, global warming, and the potential loss of environmental habitats. However, not all forms of economic growth can cause damage to the environment. So for the conclusion, this paper offers an analysis of Brazil's 10 years gap analysis. So this allows us to observe the differences a decade later. So the population, birth rate, death rate, infant mortality rate, fertility rate, life expectancy at birth for both sexes, and Brazil's gross national income were included in the analysis. So consequently, it was demonstrated that Brazil's population and GNI had increased gradually throughout time. So from 2001 to 2021, the birth rate and infant mortality rate fall, while the death rate decreases in 2011 and rises in 2021. And for the life expectancy, it was determined that it grows for both males and females with 65 on 2001, 70 on 2021, and 72 on 2011, and 72 for 2021 for males, and 72, 77, and 80 for females. These are the references, and that is all po. Thank you.